Okay, you've definitely seen the demos, right? These AI coding agents that seem to build entire, complex apps from just a single sentence. So the big question on everyone's mind is this the end for human developers, or is it actually the start of something new? Well, in this explainer, we're going to cut right through the hype and find out what's really going on.
The whole hype cycle really kicked into overdrive with Cognition's Devon. I mean, it was marketed not just as some new tool, but as the world's first AI software engineer. They called it a tireless, skilled teammate ready to tackle entire projects on its own. And that right there set this really powerful and, let's be honest, pretty provocative vision for the future.
So, is it actually time to hang up your keyboard? Are we about to be replaced? That's the billion-dollar question, and it's exactly what we're going to tackle head-on right now.
But before we can even begin to answer that, we need to get on the same page about what makes tools like Devon so different. It all comes down to this idea of an agentic leap, this huge jump from being a simple assistant to becoming a true autonomous agent.
Think of it like this. An AI assistant, that's kind of like a spell checker for your code. Sure, it'll point out mistakes and suggest fixes, but you're still the one doing all the writing. An agent, on the other hand, is like a ghostwriter. You give it a high-level idea, a concept, and it goes off and writes the entire chapter for you.
So how does an agent actually think? Well, it's a lot like a detective solving a case. First, it does perception. It gathers all the clues, reading files, looking at error messages, understanding your instructions. Then it uses its AI brain for reasoning to connect all those dots and come up with a theory. After that, it moves to planning, turning that theory into a concrete step-by-step plan. And finally, action. It goes out and executes that plan, kind of like a detective finally making an arrest.
In this table here, it lays out the whole evolution perfectly. I mean, we started with simple reactive bots that just follow rules. Then we got AI assistants that could react to our prompts. But now we have these proactive agents that can operate all on their own to achieve a goal. That leap from reactive to proactive, that's everything. That's the game changer.
Okay, so now we get what an agent is and just how powerful it can be. The next big question is, how are we supposed to actually use them? And right now, the whole industry is kind of split, betting on two totally different philosophies.
It's really like the difference between hiring a freelancer versus hiring a full-time employee to join your team. The autonomous teammate model, the Devon model, is like hiring a freelancer. You give it a project as a black box, you delegate the task, and it just comes back later with the finished product. The AI native IDE model, though, that's more like a glass box. It's an employee who works right alongside you, inside your editor, collaborating constantly.
So, which approach is winning? The freelancer black box or the collaborative glass box? Well, to figure that out, we have to move past the marketing demos and look at some cold, hard data.
To really get to the bottom of how good these agents are, we need a standardized test. And luckily, the industry has one. It's the gold standard, a benchmark called SWE Bench, and it basically tests an agent's ability to solve real-world problems from actual open-source projects.
All right, you really need to pay attention here, because this chart tells the most important part of the story. On the verified version of the test, which has clean, well-defined problems, the top agents solve over 70% of them. That is honestly incredible. But now look what happens on the Pro version, which uses messy, complex, unfamiliar code bases just like in the real world. Performance absolutely plummets to just over 23%.
And that huge drop in performance leads us to the best analogy for where these agents are today. They're like junior developers. A junior dev is great when you give them a clear, well-defined ticket, but they're going to get totally lost if you just throw them into a massive, unfamiliar system and say, go figure it out. A senior developer, on the other hand, has the experience and the intuition to handle that kind of complexity. So if AI agents are basically junior developers, does that mean all the senior developers out there are safe? Well, not necessarily. What it really means is that the job of a senior developer is about to change in a very, very big way. And look, this transformation is already having a huge measurable impact. A controlled study found that developers using GitHub Copilot, which is more of an assistant, finished their tasks almost 56% faster. See, these tools aren't replacements. They are incredible force multipliers.
Think about it, like the difference between a carpenter and an architect. A carpenter is an expert at building a house, at executing the plan, but it's the architect who designs the blueprint. In this new age of AI, developers need to become more like architects, designing the systems, directing the agents, and ensuring quality, while the AI does more of the hands-on building.
So what does this new role, this AI architect, actually look like? Well, it's all about embracing a totally new collaborative model, where humans and AI work together in a fundamentally different way to build software.
And that brings us to our final takeaway. The future here isn't a choice between a human developer or an AI one. It's about creating a new hybrid cognitive architecture. It's a network where human engineers provide the high-level vision, the critical judgment, and the business context, while directing teams of specialized AI agents to handle the execution. So the real question isn't, will AI replace us? It's, what incredible new things can we build together?